Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to get out of pocket. Welcome to Out of Pocket with Michael Davis on Boom Broadcasting, and we are live streaming at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time for your viewing pleasure. Guys, it is a great time to be with you. We are going to talk about this weekend's NFL games, who wins between the Philadelphia Eagles and Washington Commanders, in addition to the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. We had some regular season matchups to kind of preview what's going to happen this weekend. We'll tell you if they turn out to where we think it will. And plus, Jimmy Butler is suspended again. Jimmy Butler, the Miami Heat star, in wake of a potential trade, will miss the next two games. And of course, we're going to start the day off with the news that the New York Jets have their guy. The New York Jets hiring Aaron Glenn, the former defensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions, after Detroit's one-and-done playoff appearance this past week. So that is what's happened. Detroit has lost both their coordinators. We talked about Ben Johnson choosing the Chicago Bears earlier this week, and now we get to decide on how this Aaron Glenn ride will go with the New York Jets. And guys, I'm not alone today. I am so thankful to welcome in a good friend of mine. He has been on a lot of Boom Broadcasting programming. He's been on a lot of different shows, and he has his own show, Three from Deep, with your guy from NY. We got Jason Colenso here in the building. Jason, it is awesome to have you on, and we'll talk some basketball here towards the end of the show, but I did want to talk about Aaron Glenn deciding to go to the New York Jets. What was your initial reaction when you heard the news?
Well, I appreciate being on, Michael. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you, man. Thank you so much. I don't want to say shocked, not surprised. A great move for the Jets, but also curious how the Jets do Jets things where they're picking the head coach before the GM. I kind of understand why, because Glenn is being pulled in so many different directions. There's a lot of teams out there that want his services. So I can see why the Jets wanted to pull the trigger now and get him home, essentially, because from 94 to 2001, he played for the team. He's the only one in Jets history with 200-yard plays under his belt. He had a 100-yard interception from Dan Marino and a 104-yard field goal return. So I think they're trying to bring some of that Jets magic back into the building. So it was a great move because he's had a phenomenal 4 years in Detroit with that defense. So, and the Jets have a really, really good defense. They do need some offensive work. So I'll be curious to see who he brings in as his OC to really try to figure out that offense, because right now that offense is a disaster. Who knows? I doubt they're going to bring Aaron Rodgers back, because two Aarons in the building I don't think are going to work out very well. So I think Aaron Glenn's going to want to be the only Aaron in the building. But good move for the Jets, an actual smart move, but it's going to be interesting to see if whoever they bring in as a GM, how they're going to kind of click together. So I understand why the Jets did it. They got themselves a good man. They got themselves somebody that was part of the organization. He also did some scouting for them back in 2012 and 13, I think. So he has worked for that organization before. So Jets doing Jets things. Hopefully this changes the narrative. But I think a lot of it is going to come down to who they pick as a GM and how they're going to mesh and really fix that offense.
And dude, that is a great point, especially when you consider the Jets still don't have a general manager. Usually, you would get your general manager before you get your head coach because you want them on the same page.
Right.
Do you think the Jets did it backwards in this way?
Well, again, they wanted him. They know that everybody else has wanted him. The Raiders, I think he was tops on their list. I know the Jaguars really wanted him on their list. Heck, they fired their general manager because he didn't get one of the top coaching prospects that are out there. So that was another interesting move. So I understand why the Jets did it. They were under the gun. They knew that he was going to go somewhere pretty quickly. And with the Jets' history, I think this was a great move for them. Yes, they put the cart before the horse, but it was understandable. So I give them a little bit of a pass because this was a great hire for them.
Yeah, and Aaron Glenn's been quote on saying because he was drafted in the first round in 1994 by what organization? The New York Jets. So
you're a graduate of high school that
the year my parents didn't even meet yet. So we're having a great time on Out Pocket today. But that is interesting because Aaron Glenn was like his dream job, way back when was to be the head coach of the New York Jets. And despite what that team looks like right now, I mean, he, for better or worse, he has his quote unquote dream job. And, you mentioned Aaron Rodgers, who knows if he'll even be there next year. The Jets picked 7th this year, so they'll probably get a top pick. Don't know if they'll get their guy at quarterback, but I mean, there are some pieces. You have Breece Hall. You have Garrett Wilson. You look at that defense. That defense is solid.
It's a legit defense. So, I mean, him being a defensive coordinator. So I think this is really going to come down to the guys he puts around him. So the coaching staff, the OC, the other pieces to the puzzle. And I would not be surprised to see the Jets try to trade up and get closer to those top spots and try to get themselves that quarterback I think that they want, because I don't see them moving forward with Aaron Rodgers. I think that was a complete catastrophe. So hopefully they've learned from their mistakes.
Yeah, and we'll see how much time he gets as the head coach. Since 2015, this will be their fifth coach at the helm. You had Todd Bowles 2015, 2018. You had Adam Gase for 2 years. You had Robert Saleh for about 2.5 years, and then you have Jeff Ulbrich, who took over as the interim and didn't do too much there. And now you have Aaron Glenn. So I mean, Aaron Glenn did get a 5-year deal with the Jets. Jason, I'm going to ask you a question. Usually when we do that aged well, we're talking about something that happens like tonight or over the weekend. I'll get your predictions here on the NFL conference championship games between the Eagles, Commanders, and Bills and Chiefs. But when you look ahead, do you think this will age well, Jason? Will Aaron Glenn be the head coach over this 5-year duration with the Jets?
Let me see. I'm going to channel my crystal ball here and come up with, I think Aaron Glenn is around long enough to get a contract extension. I don't know how much past extension. I think he gets to the 5 years and then they get him up. He's got a really good defense. He's got some pieces on offense. If he puts the right people around him, if he gets the right GM, and hopefully Woody Johnson does something smart and gets Aaron Glenn and puts him in the same room and is part of the GM process where he can have some input on, oh, I like this guy. I've worked with him before. So I think if they make him part of the process, which hopefully these guys are smart enough that they would have had that discussion during the interview process. Aaron, we want you to be part of this. We want to find somebody, a GM that's going to mesh well with you. If that happens, I can see him lasting 5+ years because he seems to be that kind of guy. Detroit didn't want to lose him. They had a decimated defense, yet they still made it to the playoffs and had a phenomenal year. So he is a great motivator and a really, really good coach. He's never been a head coach before, so this is going to be a little different animal for him, especially in the bright lights of New York. So, but I think he has the temperament, and I can see some good things coming as long as the Jets put the right pieces around him and don't muck it up.
Hey, that is beautifully well said. And as somebody like Jason, you're keeping Brian Dable as your head coach. And there's some teams who need
For
a head
now.
coach now. For now,
For now.
but Dallas, I mean, they parted ways with Mike McCarthy. I think that was more, from what I'm reading, that's more McCarthy's decision than anything else. So hey, that's a relationship. Either one can, back out, especially if there's no contract tying a coach there.
Exactly.
But when I was looking at that, I was like, okay, as a Cowboys fan, I like the idea of Ben Johnson coming in here and, getting a lot of motion into this offense and working with Dak Prescott and, really being innovative with offense. Well, he chooses Chicago. And then I'm like, okay, well, maybe you need a leader of men, which is what Aaron Glenn has been described as. And then he decides to go with the Jets job. And now here I am looking like, man, we're not going to have McCarthy. We're not going to have Ben Johnson. We're not going to have Aaron
Derrick
Glenn.
Henry all over again. Come on,
bro. I mean, what? I mean, and there's some rumors going on that, Kellen Moore might be in the run-in, and then Brian Schottenheimer's getting his second interview with the Cowboys. And here I am thinking Brian Schottenheimer didn't even do his job. Mike McCarthy was the one calling plays. Like, why would we elevate Brian Schottenheimer to head coach? I mean, I feel like Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, they may be flops in 2 to 3 years, but I think, a lot of teams like the Jaguars, Saints, Cowboys, they might be looking at whatever they have left, the Vegas Raiders as well, and be like, man, we should have made a bigger push for guys like Aaron Glenn.
That's true. The Cowboys, I think that is a good move with your boy there. Kellen, what's his name there?
Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore. My brain was freezing up there. Don't be surprised to see Cliff Kingsbury kind of sprinkled in there somewhere. He's having a phenomenal season with the Commanders and what he has done with Daniels. So you look at someone like the Raiders, who are probably going to bring in a young quarterback. You look at the Cowboys, who need kind of an offensive-minded guy. Don't be surprised if after this game, this weekend, whatever happens, that teams start reaching out to him because he's kind of had a quiet, really, really good season with that team. But yeah, I mean, this is the NFL, which is not for long. So if you have a coach, if you have a free agent, you better not wait. You better get on the plane and go get them right now, and don't leave the building until they've signed a contract for you. If you want somebody, you better go out and get them. And this is exactly why. These two guys, the Bears, they did not want to let him go. Sign him. Johnson, let's go. Glenn, you're not leaving. We want you here. We're going to keep you here. Let's go. So, these teams, they really, really, you got to be on your grind right now and go get who you want, whether it's a free agent, whether it's a coach, because someone's going to come back and snipe you. So, and this just goes to show, what are the Saints going to do? What are the Raiders going to do? What are the Cowboys going to do? The Jags, now they're looking for a GM. And so now they're scrambling for talent. There's a lot of names floating around, but it's a lot of the same. It's a lot of the same names and a lot of the same kind of regurgitated coaches that kind of jump from here, jump from there. So it'll be interesting to see how these teams recuperate from that, because you only got a couple of months. You got to get somebody in the building right now. The draft is not that far away. April is coming soon. So you better get somebody in the building now that's going to be able to save your franchise.
And especially especially with Dallas too, they have a roster assembled to where they can be successful. They can compete. Before this year with injuries, like they put together 3 straight 12-win seasons, first time it's ever happened in NFL history. And by the way, I keep refreshing my pages, my news outlets to make sure we don't miss breaking news. That's happened a couple times. So I'm sure it's not going to happen anymore. But I was hoping that there would be coaching news, but instead news broke literally 3 minutes before we went on air that Dallas Cowboys Trayvon Diggs is having knee surgery today. and it could prolong his rehab and could keep him until parts of training camp, if not longer, and into the season. So that's the unfortunate thing. Wow. I
Yeah.
mean, it's one thing after another now, but Dallas isn't competing this weekend. Their two rivals are. And, I do want to say, guys, there will be some big breaking news towards the end of the show. So I want you guys to keep watching this. But while we're still on topic of football, I want to talk about this weekend. Championship Sunday. And Jason, there is a lot riding on these games. I mean, I mentioned Dallas and their NFC East rivals, Philadelphia Eagles, the Washington Commanders. They're competing this week with a chance to go to the Super Bowl. On one hand, you have the Philadelphia Eagles. Nick Sirianni, a lot of Eagles fans wanted him out of the building. Okay? And then you go around and you look at the Washington Commanders. Go get Dan Quinn from Dallas. Go get a rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels. And look at the Washington organization. It looked like it was at minimum a 2-3 year rebuild. But that's not been the case. Washington has blown everybody's expectations out of the water. No rookie quarterback has ever won the Super Bowl, never even started in the Super Bowl. And that could all change this weekend when the Commanders are in Philadelphia. The Eagles are favored by 6 points in this game. And so, Jason, we're going to predict these games. But, I mean, with both these organizations, I know you and I, of all people, hate the Commanders, hate the Eagles. How's it feel to see them in this spotlight?
It's slightly nauseating and a little bit depressing, especially when Saquon Barkley, who has had a phenomenal season, an MVP season, just ran for 205 yards in the last playoff game. So that is really hard as a New York Giants fan to swallow, because he should be doing that in our colors, but instead he's doing it on the Eagles. It's going to be tough to beat that team. The Eagles defense is really playing very well. That offense, it was a sloppy game last week with the weather and everything, so I kind of expected that. I knew it was going to be kind of a run game, and LA gave them everything that they had. But the Eagles, they're on a different level right now. Their run game's on a different level. Look at the Commanders, phenomenal season. Just Daniels, give them the Rookie of the Year. Kingsbury has done some magic with him. That team, that franchise, has literally in 1 year erased the stain that was on it for a very long time with Daniel Snyder. For an organization to turn around like that in 1 year that says something from ownership all the way down. So phenomenal job. I live here in Northern Virginia. The excitement over the Washington football team is back. This is like the Gibbs era when you had Theismann and Riggins. And I mean, just that kind of the hog mentality, that excitement is back here. They're playing with house money. Whether they win, lose, get destroyed, it doesn't matter. They've made it this far. They've had a great year. It's going to be a tall task to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. I think the Eagles win this game. I can see them winning by 7+ points. I think Saquon's going to have another really, really good game. You can't count the Commanders out. I think they have a puncher's chance, but I can see the Eagles going back to the Super Bowl back-to-back years.
Yeah, and I told somebody that it's not easy, watching your division rivals with the chance to on to compete and win a Super Bowl. But I told you guys you could comment and be a part of the conversation. That's what our good friend Cody from Drew Code Sports Talk is saying. And he's like, at least your division rivals aren't trying to win their third Super Bowl in a row. And Cody, I do empathize with you on that one. We'll talk about that Chiefs Bills game in here in a few moments. But I mean, Jason, that's what's at play right now. And Philadelphia has been there before with Jalen Hurts. It was a couple years ago, I believe, that first Chiefs Super Bowl that Cody talked about. And last year was the 49ers, to where, man, it's like, dude, Dallas especially, like, having this feud with the 49ers, having the division rivalry with the Eagles, it just stings a little bit more when they're in the Super Bowl competing. But yeah, Washington, very, very impressive. Nobody expected what Jane Daniels could have brought to the table, especially anytime there's a rookie quarterback going to an organization. What's the first thing we look at? We look at the team around him. We see that Terry McLaurin is a solid wide receiver, but no matter who's thrown him the ball over the years, that hasn't helped the Washington Commanders translate that into wins. We look at running backs, and it's Brian Robinson. He's like, okay, Austin Eckler considered out of his prime. You look at the defense, Bobby Wagner considered out of his prime. Frankie Louvu played in Carolina, but did he make a difference there? Dan Quinn brings rotational guys like Dante Fowler and Dorrance Armstrong and Noah Igabogany from the Dallas Cowboys. And you're like, well, okay, like, show me what you got. And they have showed everybody what they've gotten. It is a magical run. But, Jason, there's a reason why I put the Philadelphia Eagles so highly. And again, Jason, you said I was, out of pocket of sorts, dissing on the Detroit Lions and putting the Eagles above them in the rankings. But
yeah, I know. That's again, that didn't age well. Thank you, Lions, for messing that up. But yes, the Eagles, their run game is phenomenal. Again, Saquon Gainwell is a great running back too, so they got a good change of pace back. The big key factor in this game is going to be the health of Jalen Hurts, his knee. How well is he going to be able to hang in the pocket? If he's got to get out of the pocket, how well is he going to move? The whole tush-push thing, are they going to bring somebody else in to kind of do those things now? So his health is key in this football game right now. I think it's going to be a great game. Daniels is ice cold, man. He's not scared of anything right now, and so he's going to let it fly. He's got Eckler back and is running really well and has made some big plays for that team too. So offensively, I think this is going to be an exciting game, but it's all going to come down to how healthy is Jalen Hurts and how healthy is that knee, and what is he going to be able to do. Because I don't think there's any really bad weather this weekend. I think they're going to have a pretty decent weather game here, not like last week where you're going to have snow and ice and all that other stuff. So I think they're going to lean heavily on that run game this weekend. So how do you stop the other team from scoring? Don't give them the ball. So you have those 8-9 minute drives, and it'd be nice to see Jalen Hurts kind of keep the ball away from those guys. So it's going to be a great game. Unbelievable matchup right now.
Yeah, and Jason, you have a fan in the comments right there.
Yes, I do. Thank you. That's the wife saying hello. So she's probably checking up on me.
Making sure you're behaving.
Exactly. I'm
sure
being good.
I'm sure she's married to you. She knows that's a lie. You never behave.
I have my moments.
But when it comes to a final score prediction, I know the Philadelphia Eagles are favored by 6. This is why I've said they're the favorite in the NFC for the last month. And Jason, my final score prediction, by the way, shout out to Mrs. Colenso herself showing support. We appreciate you. Thank you for letting us borrow the hubby for about an hour on Out of Pocket. We really appreciate it. Thanks for letting him and supporting him and doing this. I know it's been a big passion for him that he's gotten to exhibit. So only when he wants something is when he behaves. Yeah, and
that's everybody. That's everybody.
We're giving you a hard time, man. When you got to put a final score to it, who do you say wins and by how much?
I got the Eagles. I think it's 27-20. I think they just cover the spread. I think it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a close game. But I think the Eagles just have too much firepower. That defense is a little bit better than what the Commanders have faced. And the Eagles have played those Commanders twice already this year, so they have that familiarity with them. So give me the Eagles 27-20.
Now, that's a great point because the Commanders and Eagles have obviously met twice. Their first matchup, the Commanders lost 26-18, and then that was in Philadelphia, by the way, the same location for this NFC Championship game. And then later on the season, Washington actually beat Philadelphia 36-33. So not only will this be the rubber match, but this will also be the match that determines who makes it to the Super Bowl. I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm glad he found something he truly enjoys. I do as well. I'm going to say it's going to be a high scoring game. And I think it's going to be 42-31.
Wow, that much.
42-31. And I got Philadelphia winning this game. Unfortunately, I mean, I won't be happy with whoever wins this game.
We can't say tie because we don't. They're not going to have a tie.
It's impossible. So, it's literally
they tied and they just let the Chiefs and the Bills play in the Super Bowl, and then nobody from the NFC goes. But it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. So I'm just cheering for Saquon as a Giants fan, as him as a former Giant. I know why he's not there anymore, but to see him succeed and just to see the way he has been playing and the presence of him. Drew Coates also got Philly, although that's a bad sign when everybody picks the same team. I know we have problems with that when everybody is on the same side of the fence. The other side tends to win, but we'll see. But Saquon Barkley, you talk about a phenomenal person and teammate. Some of the excerpts throughout the year that he's had, some of the sideline interactions with his team, give the guys the ball, being very humble. It's awesome to see. So shout out Saquon Barkley, man. Phenomenal year. I'd like to see you get the MVP.
Wow. And we'll see. Obviously, Saquon, Josh Allen, and I believe Lamar was the other one who's been given the nod and nominated for MVP award. And Drew Code Sports Talk saying your wife's the real MVP.
She is. She puts up with me, takes care of the family. So, yes.
Yeah.
God bless the wife.
She's the real MVP. Drew Code Sports Talk and I agreeing on the same margin of victory by 11. And the line's at 6. And Cody's probably not happy about the Chiefs right now. And we're talking about rematches from the season. The Chiefs only lost 2 games this year. One of them was the final week of the year when they set everybody and just let Denver win 38-0 to get the Broncos in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But the Chiefs were on a win streak, and it looked at some point they were going to try to be undefeated. But, of course, they went to Buffalo. That wasn't the case. The Chiefs lost by 9, 30-21. And now the Bills, the only real team to beat the Chiefs this year, go into Arrowhead. And Patrick Mahomes has always had Josh Allen's number in the playoffs. The Bills go, and they are a 2-point underdog on the road at Kansas City, who have not lost a home game this year. But their real only loss was to Buffalo. Jason, you can talk about legacies and what have you, but for Josh Allen, I feel like he needs this win against Patrick Mahomes.
This is huge. This is Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning kind of deal. Peyton Manning could never kind of get past Tom Brady, and then he got past him a couple of different times. So this is huge for Josh Allen. This is huge for Western New York, Buffalo. They have had some heartbreak. I mean, made it to the Super Bowl 4 straight times, and to not come away with one. So Josh Allen has literally the whole, most of the state of upstate New York on his back right now. So I can understand how he feels right now. This is a huge, huge game for them. Chiefs, they're going for destiny right now. They're going for that three-peat. Was it 3 in a row, 4 in a row? How many do they have?
Yeah,
5 in a row?
3. First time ever, it'd be 3 in a row.
Yeah, 3 in a row. It's going to be tough to beat the Chiefs. They are on a different level. Patrick Mahomes last week showed why he's Patrick Mahomes. That touchdown he threw to Kelsey where he was vertical, falling down, getting tackled, and did his magical Patrick Mahomes stuff. He just, you saw a lot of things this year from the Chiefs where they got a blocked field goal, they got a doink here, they had their ball bounce their way, and had this year, but then they come out and they show why they are still the Chiefs. This is going to be an interesting game. But Josh Allen is playing on a different level right now. He wants to win this for everybody, not just himself. I think he really, really does. I see the Chiefs getting over the I see the Bills, getting over the hump this weekend. I think they finally beat the Chiefs. Bills got a good run game right now. Cook has been playing very, very well. Davis, another great backup running back. The Bills defense has been playing very, very well. They've had some good showings. I think they can stop that Chiefs. I think this is going to be a defensive game because the Chiefs defense is just as good. So offensive weapons are right there. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. This is going to be in the trenches. I think this is really going to come down to offensive, defensive line. If Josh Allen can do Josh Allen things, move the football down the field, if he can do his scrambles and some of the things he does, they're going to win this game. But that all comes down to that offensive line and protecting him. Same thing with the Chiefs. If they can protect Patrick Mahomes and keep the Bills from blitzing and keep him upright, he's going to do Patrick Mahomes things. But I think the Bills come out with this. I think they win by a field goal because it'd be apropos for the Bills to win by a field goal with all the history behind that and get to the Super Bowl. So I'm going 24-21, and nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
Wow. There's a lot to unpack there. I mean, for Josh Allen, like with his kryptonite being Patrick Mahomes and being there, like, of course, I feel like this is the moment. Like, you need to get over the hump and just rely on fatigue. You've beaten them once before this year. I do agree. I think we'll see a lot of offense in the Eagles-Commanders game. And then immediately after, people are going to watch this Chiefs-Bills game. And they're going to get frustrated because they think the refs are, favoring Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs.
I was trying to keep that out of it. I was trying to kind of stay away from it, pull back the reins on that a little bit. Because, perception is a whole nother thing. But I'm just sticking to pure football right now. We're going to leave the speculations and the
excuses.
Stuff.
They're excuses.
Yeah, we'll leave the excuses to another day, but it's going to be a great game. I mean, you got two phenomenal games this weekend. It's unbelievable to have these four teams right now, and to have the Bills and the Chiefs. That's just going to be an epic battle.
And dude, with the Chiefs, like, everybody complain about, the refs or this, that, whatever. They're going to complain about a lower scoring game. Like the Eagles Commanders, it's going to be electrifying. It's going to be offensive. And then this game is defensive. I think you made a really good point in that. But Jason, you didn't believe me about Philadelphia. Why are you not believing me about Kansas City? It's just going to happen.
Because it's never been done. And it's so hard to do. Even just to be where Kansas City is now, 7 AFC championships in a row, phenomenal run. That is unheard of. Excuse me. That's New England Patriots, Tom Brady GOAT. Right now, Patrick Mahomes is kind of sniffing that air as we speak, getting close to that rare air. But every once in a while, you get that one team that shows up and just takes it from you. So it's so hard to get back to the playoffs. It's so hard to get where the Chiefs are now. It takes a lot of energy. Do the Chiefs have enough firepower? Kelsey had a great game last week, but where has that been all year? Pacheco and that run game has been spotty at best. They really have not been that good, where the Bills' run game has been really, really good. Cook is a lot better runner than anybody the Chiefs have right now. And that Bills offensive line showed it last week running that football. So going to be an epic matchup, but I still think the Bills get it done, man. History is tough to get into that that historic air. It takes a lot. So I don't know if the Chiefs got it right now.
Jason, I'm going to go ahead and play spoiler alert. The Chiefs are entering that rarefied air. They are going to get
Okay.
it done. They're
We'll
going to be
see.
the first three-peat because it doesn't make logical sense. You're like, Josh Allen's playing the best ball of his career. They got James Cook. They got these weapons on offense, but they have this defense. But the Chiefs have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and it doesn't make logical sense, but they are in rarefied air in terms of you cannot bet against the Kansas City Chiefs. And you may be taking Buffalo by a field goal. Kansas City, they love their one-score games. I'm taking Kansas City by a field goal.
Okay. That's fair. You got to remember, though, Taylor Swift doesn't like going to Western New York, so be interested to see if she shows up.
Well, I mean, it'll be in Kansas City anyway. So
that's right. That's right. I'm sorry, it is in Kansas City.
There you go. You want to flip your prediction
no,
now?
It's still Buffalo Bills. It's still Buffalo. It's going to be a great game, man. What an awesome weekend, though, to be a football fan. Four juggernaut teams, but to have Kansas City and Buffalo meet like this is going to be exciting. And yeah, Andy Reid, it's one of those things that, he's getting up there. Is this kind of towards the end? Kelce getting up there. He's talked about retirement. This is one of those things where, is this on those guys' mind? Is retirement like, hey, if I win the chip, I'm going to hang it up? So are those things on these guys' mind? I mean, that is a lot for the Chiefs to handle because no one's ever handled anything like that before. So they got a lot of pressure. Bills playing with house money. They don't have that pressure. They've never won anything. Chiefs, they're trying to beat history. That's a lot. That's a lot to handle.
I don't know. I feel like the Bills do have a lot of pressure, though, because they haven't been able to get over Kansas City. I feel like most of the pressure is on the Buffalo Bills, and particularly Josh Allen. And Sean McDermott.
If you're a starting quarterback in the NFL, you have pressure on you no matter what, especially when you're the top five. You talk about Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. Those guys wake up with pressure on them. They wake up with a city sitting on their shoulders because they are the face of their franchise. So they know how to handle that kind of pressure. Add historic pressure to it. That's a whole different animal. Add that kind of mystique, and now they got GOAT conversations and all this other stuff. When you have to answer those kind of questions, that is a different type of pressure.
And Patrick Mahomes could very well enter rarefied air right there. 3-time Super Bowl champion, won the MVP in all 3 of those years, and then won the regular season MVP twice, NFL Offensive Player of the Year once, 2-time first-team All-Pro, second-team All-Pro, 6-time Pro Bowl, even though do you really acknowledge 6-time Pro Bowlers? It's a lot, and we'll learn a lot more about Patrick Mahomes and his legacy after this weekend. And you notice when Jason was naming off his top 5, he does a lot of top 5 lists on 3 from Deep. He didn't mention Justin Herbert, by the way, just FYI, but I'm going to digress. I'm going to get over it because
he's like 15 to 20. I think he's in that range.
Yeah, I would give him 15. Like I would give him 15. I don't think he's like bottom half, but he's definitely not a top 5 or.
I know a bunch of teams that would take him right now, i.e. the Jets, i.e. the Raiders, anybody dying for a quarterback, even Seattle. I don't think Geno's the answer there. So I think there's a lot of teams out there that would gladly take Justin Herbert. That's another discussion for another day once we get closer to the draft here.
Well, before we get into the breaking news that will drop later today, you talk about teams who will want to take Justin Herbert if they had the chance. Well, 29 other NBA teams have the chance to take Jimmy Butler right now, and there are no suitors. Phoenix is trying to get in. Memphis thinks they could have a chance. Toronto, maybe Milwaukee, like. there are some weird teams trying to emerge for Jimmy Butler services, but I was at dinner last night and saw Jimmy Butler get suspended again because he fails to make the team flight to Milwaukee. So he is suspended for the 2-game road trip that the Miami Heat are on right now. And Jason, you host an NBA podcast, Three from Deep. I'm a Heat fan, so you and I are very well invested in this situation right now. Dude, this is ugly.
It's very disappointing, and I read the Eric Spoelstra comment. I don't know if you got to see that yet, but I got to hear. Eric Spoelstra made a little comment today about the way he talked to his team about this whole situation. He said, the point that I can make to our team is to let's get used to it. Get over it. This is the NBA life. This is the life we choose. If you think it's going to be predictable, you're really mistaken. So for Eric Spoelstra to kind of tell his team, get over it, this has turned into an ugly divorce. I think it's going to get even worse. I don't think the Heat really want to trade him to an East team. I think this is why this is dragging out, because they don't want to send him to a Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee Bucks have a chance to win a chip. They're playing really, really good basketball right now. Giannis, up there for MVP recognition. Do you really want to send Jimmy Butler to a team that's going to beat your team? And then kind of like maybe you have to face him in the playoffs. So I think that's the problem. There's also money involved. So I know a lot of the money is involved. Phoenix yesterday just did that weird trade with the Jazz where they got like 3 first-round picks for another pick. They did some pick swapping going on with the Utah Jazz, so they can get some more kind of draft capital to try to make a deal happen. There's a lot of moving parts in this. I think that teams are trying to find a third team because Suns want to get rid of Bradley Beal. They want to get rid of all that money. They want Jimmy Butler. They want to get rid of Beal. They want to bring in another team. When you bring in 3 teams in an NBA trade, it's hard enough to do it with 2, let alone when you bring in a third team. And a lot of this has to do with making the money work that I've been seeing because there's so much. Those contracts are not little. They're not expired. There's a big there's a lot of investment into that. If you get that guy, is he going to play for your team? Does Jimmy Butler want to play for him? Is he one of their approved teams that he wants to go to? If that team does get Jimmy Butler, do they want to turn around and sign him to his contract, which he can get a lot of money at the end of the season? So this is a weird situation. It's not like the Heat culture. I know we've talked about this before. Usually the Heat culture is just team orientated, very humble. They play together, they play with each other, and then to have Jimmy do this, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, and True Code Sports Talk saying send him to the Flint Tropics. I mean, with the way he's acting, yeah, Jason, this is completely opposite of not only Heat culture, but what we've seen from Jimmy Butler the last few years. I mean, this is a guy who literally poured out and exhausted himself in the NBA Finals, not once, but twice. And it feels weird how this is all went about. And of course, that 52 million player option is, looming. And Jimmy says he's not going to, opt into that. And, I'm sure the Heat organization, like if they didn't trade him, like Jimmy Butler wouldn't opt out of 52 million because he's not going to get 52 elsewhere. I mean, at the end of the day, money talks, but at the same time, I mean, the Heat have suspended him 2 games. The deadline's looming on February 6th. So it is 2 weeks from today that the Heat need to get a deal done, because I saw when Jimmy came back from his suspension last week and played against Denver, and it was just the vibes were off. It looked like he wasn't even trying. Like
he was not trying, dude. I watched some of that game, and you saw him running up and down the court, and there was no there was no pep in his step. He has mailed it in. He's done. I think if the Heat do not trade him, I think they sit him for the rest of the season and don't even put him on the team. I could see them doing something like this. I mean, this is inexcusable. I mean, look, Jimmy Butler is a great player. He's had some kind of issues here and there. The Philly exit wasn't great, but I know
Minnesota wasn't.
Minnesota wasn't great. Chicago wasn't great. So I mean, he's had some exits that had some questions to it. But this is even worse because of how he has performed and what he's given to that team. And I think that's why he's acting the way he is because he has given so much to that team. He has brought them to the finals where that team really didn't belong in the finals. He's carried them and been that guy. Couldn't get him over the hump. I think if he did or was able to get him a championship, I think this would be a different conversation. But this is an ugly look for Jimmy Butler. It's not a good look for the Heat right now. You feel bad for his teammates. You look at Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo. You got some young guys on that team that aren't used to this kind of veteran drama that you get with that. So how is that affecting the team? And you can see it. That Miami Heat team is not playing very well right now. They're slipping farther back in the East. So I'm afraid that this has really been a bad deal for the Miami Heat as a franchise.
And they're right now, they're 4-6 in their last 10 games. They're 500. They're sitting at the 9 seed right now, which would be the play-in. But I feel like with the Heat and Jimmy Butler right now, Jason, that it looks worse on Jimmy Butler because Miami's actually like giving him a chance. Like, hey, we suspended you 7 games. Like, come back, play for us. And we'll try to find you a trade. But if you're a player and you're missing your team flight and you're given like half effort on the court, like what else is a team going to do when you have guys emerging like Tyler Hero, who's a potential all-star, Bam Adebayo still there. You have the rookie, Khalil Ware, that is just, dude, what? Like, he's emerging as he's playing more alongside Bam Adebayo. Nikola Jovic, putting in some impressive minutes. Duncan Robinson continues to improve his game. And then you have Jimmy Butler, who's like, I'm here and I'm going to chuck up this shot and I'm not really going to play defense and I'm not going to ride with the team or whatever. I mean, I think here's a bold prediction. The Heat at 9 seed right now. When they dismiss Jimmy Butler, they are going to be a top 5 seed in the East.
That is a bold pick, man. If they can get some value for Jimmy Butler and get somebody that is going to play and give them some minutes and give them some points, I can see this. That is going to be tough. You're getting into the point of the season, especially before the All-Star break, where teams really just kind of are just trying to get to the All-Star break because they're tired, they're getting beat up, and then you add this drama on top to it. That is a lot of weight on them. The Heat need to get somebody big for Jimmy Butler if they're going to do that. That's bold. I think they can do it. They have the talent. Look, Eric Spoelstra is probably one of the least talked about head coaches in the NBA as far as how really great he is.
He's one of the best, if not
phenomenal.
the best.
He is so underrated and just not talked about when you talk about great head coaches in the NBA right now. Look at some of the people he has coached. Look at some of the personalities he's coached. And I think that makes it even harder to swallow with Jimmy Butler because we know Coach Spo, what kind of coach he is. And you've never really seen that. He's coached some of the biggest stars in the NBA, some of the biggest personalities in the NBA. And you've never seen anything like this happen to him. So for this Jimmy Butler thing to really spiral out of control, it's just it's hard to understand it because the Heat culture, Coach Spo, you got a good team what's the problem? Is it all about money? Because if it's truly about money, Jimmy, then that's pretty sad, because you're going to get paid. You were going to make some money. You probably needed to take a little bit of a hometown discount, which is probably what they wanted, because to sign that 2-year, 110 whatever million, so to pay him $50+ million a year at 35, I believe he is, that's a lot of money for an aging superstar. So let's call it like it is, dude. You're not 28 years old anymore. You're not in the prime of your career. You're starting the tail end of it. So I know you want to grab as much cash as you want on the way out, but you got to think of this is team. This is a business. You got to give them that hometown discount. You got to, build the roster around you, because you're not the guy that's going to be able. You need help. And I don't think he wanted to do that. And I think that's why this is blowing up the way it is, because I don't think it had anything to do with the coach. I don't think it had anything to do with the roster. And I don't think it had anything to do with the front office. I think this had a lot to do with money.
And, money, it can sometimes lead to pride, and sometimes that leads to a fall, which is what's happened. I don't think the, top 5 seeds are going to be like, crazy think. Obviously, like Cleveland, Boston, New York,
Orlando is there. Orlando's getting healthy again. You got to watch them. Indiana, you got to watch Indiana. They've got a phenomenal team there. They can take anybody out at any given time. There's a lot of good teams in the East.
But even with all those teams, Miami has the 5th best point differential in the East right now. You have your top 4 teams: Cleveland, Boston, the Knicks, the Bucks, and then everyone else is in the negative point differential aside from Miami. I feel like once they get, cut the, I don't want to call them this, but cut the cancer out, you're going to get a really motivated, young, healthy team, especially if you can get, Bradley Beal, who on court has the same production, or if you get, I've heard a rumor of Chris Middleton and Bobby Portis. Chris Middleton's like, he will be a third option at a team, but also he could come in and be like, hey, I want to prove that, Milwaukee got rid of the wrong guy.
Right.
And I mean, I feel like, and Bobby Portis, playing alongside in the rotation of Ware and Adebayo could provide a lot to this Heat team.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if Miami's better after this Jimmy Butler trade, but we will be covering this Jimmy Butler news whenever it breaks. I know Out of Pocket will be back on Monday at 5:30, but Jason, you have an NBA podcast, and while we wait for this Butler news to break, we have more news to break. Jason, I hope you're okay with us doing the honors right here, because guys, you know him as the 3 from Deep host once a week, Mondays at noon. But with the NBA season heating up, with trade deadline a couple weeks away, you want more Jason? You got more Jason. It's 3 from Deep, 3 times a week. You got him Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays at noon, live here on Boom Broadcasting. Jason, talk about this upgrade for 3 from Deep during the NBA season, what it means to you, what people should expect moving forward.
Well, I'm excited about it. There is so much going on right now in the NBA. 1 day a week doesn't cut it. You just had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander drop 54 last night. You got the Spurs playing overseas. You got Wemby back in France. That's huge for the NBA right now. So there is some big things going on in the NBA. You got trades going on. So I just want to be there for this stuff as things start heating up. As we get closer to the All-Star break, I want to make sure that I can cover everything that's going on in the NBA. So it is an honor to do it for Boom Broadcasting, and I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity. So to do 3 from Deep 3 times a week is a phenomenal opportunity, and I appreciate that, because there is a lot going on, and I think this season is just going to get even better the farther we get into it. Are the Lakers going to make some moves and try to get LeBron James some help? Are the Lakers going to trade LeBron James away? I'm hearing some things in the wind that LeBron may want to go play with Steph Curry. in Golden State. How crazy would that be? So I just want to be there to be able to cover everything. I'm also going to be doing my 2-minute warnings pretty much 5 days a week on my Facebook. My Facebook page, so check that out. If you don't follow me, jump on there and follow me, because I like doing my little 2-minute warning. So if we do have breaking news, I want to throw it out there and get it out there to you guys. So very excited. Michael Davis, I appreciate this opportunity, and this is going to be a lot of fun, man. It's going to be a heck of a ride.
Dude, it's going to be a phenomenal ride. There is a lot of people who work extremely hard on the Boom Broadcasting team. One of them, Chris DeLuca, dropped his MLB podcast, Dugout Debrief, earlier today. You guys should check out MLB Hall of Fame news. LA Dodgers signing some big names, of course.
Again.
Delaying all the payroll. But one of the guys who work really hard, not only for his show, but everybody else's content as well, is Jason. He watches everything. He shares everything. He is also just a quality human being. I can't begin to, share how much he's meant to me, and just, the season of life I'm at right now. And I'll be down in the dumps, and he'll text me. He's like, "Boss man, checking on you. How are you doing?" Yep. He's a very intentional guy, and I know he's going to do a phenomenal job. He's only been on the team since, September-ish, and he did great with Wayne. When he approached me about the NBA podcast, it was a duh. And then when he asked for more, it was an even bigger duh. So 3 from deep, 3 times a week.
Yes, sir.
We got it on Boom Broadcasting.
It's heating up out there. It's heating up.
That schedule will start this Monday. So he'll drop his next episode on Monday.
Yep.
He'll drop another on Wednesday during the usual Sideline Savants time slot. And then he'll drop his first Saturday episode this upcoming week. And Jason, it's going to be awesome. Drew Code Sports Talk. Jason's the best. Congrats, my friend. 3 claps for you. And if you guys haven't checked his stuff out, I've been speaking of 3 times, I've been a guest on his show 3 times.
Yes.
And those episodes are on his YouTube channel right there, Drew Code Sports Talk, another good friend of mine that I've met through the podcasting world. And we continue to grow our community. We continue to grow both these channels. And I'm excited for what the future holds in store for us. And hopefully the future of 3 from Deep next week includes a Jimmy Butler trade.
I'd like to see something. It has been very, very quiet on the trade front here in the NBA. So it's going to be the next 2 weeks, I think, are going to be fast and furious. So that's why I'm very excited to be able to do this 3 times a week, because I guarantee next week it's going to come fast and furious. I think you're going to see some trades. You're going to see some people on the move. Lots of drama going on. You have those top teams are playing phenomenal. The MVP watch. I do my little MVP watch. So Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Joker, playing out of his mind right now. Giannis playing good basketball. Heck, they wanted him traded in the beginning of the season. They wanted to fire Doc Rivers, and now all of a sudden everybody is loving the Bucks. So I am just excited. This is a heck of an NBA season right now. Lots to dig into, lots to do, and I appreciate that, man. Again, I appreciate this opportunity. It's very exciting.
Yep. There you guys have it. Our breaking news, 3 from Deep, 3 times a week. And that starts this Monday. And Out Pocket will be back Monday at 5:30. We got content on the channel already. We will not be on air tomorrow due to some personal stuff that have come up. Everything's okay. I just will not be anywhere near my laptop tomorrow due to some stuff arising. So Out Pocket will skip tomorrow. We'll be back on Monday, just like Jason's 3 from Deep NBA podcast will be back on Monday. We'll have some content for you this weekend. And hopefully we get to drop a man behind the mic on Saturday, and then we'll change the schedule a little bit to make sure we're not overloading you on Saturdays. You guys still can spend time with your family, friends, loved ones. But 3 from Deep will be debuting on Saturday next week. But guys, this has been Out Pocket. We're done for the hour. For Jason, for myself, it's been Out Pocket with Michael Davis on Boom Broadcasting, and we'll catch you guys here next week.
Well, that's it. I really hope you enjoyed it. We had a ball making it. Thank you very much.